today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to use some of Blender's sculpting tools to get a little better fit of your parts. So first demonstration, I'll show how I made this plate calling band fit onto this arm. So I borrowed this from the pre-snap shotgun pose. I used plane cut to cut the band out from the arms to isolate it, and I want to add it onto this arm. So if I pulled this up over here, there you go. You're going to see that the fit is not bad. It's close, but you know, it sticks out a lot over here. We got some of the arm coming through here. The fit could be much better. In previous videos, I showed how we could take the arm, apply the magnet to it, and then use the attract brush on here to kind of pull this in. But there's a lot of detail in here that could get lost with the attract brush. So I kind of get it close to where I want it here in Meshmixer. Then what I would do is I would export both items out to a separate folder, which I've done already. And then I go into Blender. I'm going to bring those two parts in. So I'll go import, STL, choose my two parts here, import, right there. First thing I want to do is set the origin point to the center of mass for these two items, because right now the origin point is down here, which means as I try to rotate around this, it's using that point instead. So with both parts selected, I right click, set origin, and origin to center of mass. There we go. All right. So now I'm just going to be working on the play band. So I want to make sure that is the piece that's highlighted. And then I'm going to switch from object mode to sculpt mode. And then the brush that I've been working with a lot is the grab brush. And you can play with the strength up here. It's, you know, if you set it to 1, that's 100%. We'll bring it down just a little bit. You have to play with that. And then again, you can change the radius or the size of the brush by using this, or I like to use the bracket keys, left to shrink, right to expand. And now what I can do is I can just sort of find that spot, click, and then pull. And see how it just gently pulls the mesh. If I hold down shift and then the third button on the mouse and pull, I can pan like this. For some reason, it was not panning for me. Okay. Then again, I can just, with that grab brush, I can click and push. And I can push this down closer to the arm. And now I'm getting such a much better fit. So here, instead of pushing down, I'm going to pull up. And sometimes you gotta get kind of the correct angle here. Grab in the center, and I'm gonna pull. I'm gonna expand the brush up a little bit here. And just pull that. Now it has a much better form fit to the arm and wrist. Go around, make sure, push this down. And I'm getting very little, distortion in the mesh. This is a very clean, nice and smooth adjustments. Okay, so I'll end up with a really clean looking part here. Okay. And I'm just kind of showing you sort of quick and dirty. You can take your time with it, really work those different areas, changing the size of the brush until you get something that looks good. Okay, we'll call that good for the purpose of this demonstration. I will go back into object mode. Okay, now that this looks good, we're going to export it. So we'll go File, Export, STL. Now, make sure you change this to selection only. Otherwise, it's going to export both the arm and the play band. And I'm just going to overwrite the original play band. So I select that, export, head back over to Meshmixer. Okay, there's what we had before. Doesn't look great. Bring in the new one. Dropped it right over. We can get rid of that one and see how much better that one looks. That's a nice fit. So I can do one of two things from this point. I can select them both and unionize them to make them one part forever. Or again, I can just hit combine. And it makes it one STL file, but I can always go back later and choose to separate shells to take off that play band again. Okay, so that's how I can use that grab brush in Blender to get a nice fit on that. So using what we know there, let's start to do something with this here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some of those principles and a few new techniques to take to clean up this pose. So the bottom is from the new wide receiver defensive back 2-figure set that we just got. So we've got sort of a nice set of more vintage wide receiver legs. And this upper is from the what I was calling the modern receiver one-handed catch pose that I put together not too long ago. And the pieces go together all right. But as you can see, you know, we got some gaps here. All right. And I want to lengthen these sleeves as well, because we're going to turn this whole thing into more of a vintage wide receiver one-handed catch. So we're going to have to lengthen these sleeves as well. Okay, so how do I want to do that? First, let's start by adding the sleeves. So similar to how we added pads in previous videos, I'm going to start by pulling in a cylinder. Drop that there, and then we'll rotate this around, and this will become our sleeve. Again, when you're kind of doing like digital sculpting, you start with a part that is closest in shape to your end result, and then we'll just treat this like a block of clay. So we don't have to, get this close or perfect. We're gonna do that with the brushes, but we want to be able to rough the shape in. And we'll be doing some of this work in Blender and some of it in Meshmixer. Eventually, I want to get to the point where I'm doing it all in Blender, but I'll be honest, I do find it a little overwhelming still, and there's just some things that are just a little bit easier in Meshmixer for me, so that's why I kind of bounce between the two. Okay, dense mesh, not a dense mesh, okay? We need to add some mesh to this. So, ask for select it all, disregard my cat, edit, and remesh. Bump that up, hit accept, run it again. And it's closer, but we're gonna go one more time. Yep, I hear you, cat. Okay, now we're dense, hit accept. I'm gonna hit W, okay. I wanna smooth this out, so we're gonna go deform and smooth. That looks pretty good. I can still sort of see sort of like those flat faces going around, so I'm gonna smooth that a little bit more. Bump that up. Okay, that looks good, hit accept. And clear selection. Okay. Now, since I already took the time to add the mesh and smooth, I don't want to repeat all those steps for the other side. So I'm just going to hit duplicate and then pull this over. And we'll just reuse this one over here. That looks pretty good. That looks good. And that looks good. Okay. Now what I want to do, we'll have to focus kind of one at a time here. I want to get sort of these edges cleaned up a little bit first. Okay. Come in a little bit there. Okay, that's where that is. Okay, so we'll just start with doing a little bit of sculpting in here. Starting to, you know, blend these together a little bit. Let's see if I turn on, how far does that go back? Just trying to see how far that the cylinder was going into the torso there. All right. This one's actually look at this one. I'll bring that down a little bit. I'll bump that up. There we go. I just want a smoother transition between the two. That's good. So we got the arm peeking through here. I could do bubble smooth. Cover that up. You know, the rest I will use, I'll probably just end up doing in Blender. Okay. I think this is close enough. All right. So I want to join these together. So start with the torso, select the sleeve, Boolean union, and accept. And then we'll select this sleeve and union and accept. All right, so we don't have obnoxious colored sleeves here. I'm gonna hit Control or Command A with the select tool to select the entire torso, modify and clear face group. Now everything is gray, easy to see what's going on. Now again, because we did a union, if I go in and sculpt, my sculpting now affects both parts because they are one. So now if you can go in here and do a little bit more blending between the two. Okay. All right. We got long sleeves. They don't look good though. So we're going to export out this torso. And we'll head over to Blender. We can get rid of these guys. We're done with this. Okay. So now I want to bring those parts in. So I'll go File, Import STL, and we're going to grab the left arm, the pants, the right arm, and the torso. Okay, now the first thing we're going to do is set the origin to the center there. Okay, and that does it, puts it at the center for each individual object, even though I have them all selected. All right. So we're going to work on the sleeves first. So with the torso selected, go from object mode over to sculpt mode. And we're going to grab that grab brush. Now I can use that, start pulling this a little bit closer to the arm. And this is nice too, because we start to get, even kind of helps it with yeah, sort of like almost like looks more like fabric now. We've got, because you can kind of push from 2 different directions, sort of get yourself a little bit of like almost like wrinkling or folds. And I find this just so much faster in here than messing with this in Meshmixer. Sometimes you have to kind of push it to the extreme to kind of find out where the arm actually is, and then back off a little bit. We know we have that problem area back here. Well, we got ourselves a little bit of a mess there. Ooh. Do we have some sort of hole in our mesh? I think we do. Let's go back. So if I hide this, we got a little bit of a mess going on there that's making things a little bit difficult. Okay, so there's, let's see. I could take my sculpting brushes and sort of fill that out. I'm gonna try first, just taking, this will be a little bit faster, take my selection brush. Don't need all of that, stay kind of close to that edge. What if I take that delete? Okay, left me a little part up there. We don't want any junk floating inside there. Delete that part out. Okay, I don't see any other junk. Okay, double click on that edge so we get the whole perimeter. Erase and fill, accept, clear selection. Got some errors there. Let's run analysis, inspector. Let's clean those up. Okay. Before I bring it back in, just going to clean that up just a little bit with smooth brush. Okay, that's better. All right, so let's re-export that out. And we'll head back to Blender. We're gonna have to go back to object mode. You have to delete that out. And import. Bring the new one in. You know, I don't like when things don't go to plan, but I think it's good to sort of capture some of those things that can happen when you're working, or you're working fast, or, and then, you know, how do we fix it? Okay. All right, that looks better. Go back to sculpt mode. Yep. There we go. pull that out. All right, yeah, so we kind of have to redo this stuff. That's all right. You know, that's what's, you know, kind of a nice, we're going back, we're doing, whoops, grab the chest there. You know, we're doing this again, and, you know, it's not going to be the same as the last time. I mean, that's what's still kind of nice about this. We're working digitally, but you still almost get that sort of handcrafted, hand sculpted, because, you know what, it's not going to be exactly the same as the last time, you know, you did it. And, you know, two of us could be working on the exact same parts, using the exact same tools, but they're going to be unique, which is kind of cool. And I'm just gonna keep kind of changing size of the brush, moving this stuff around. See if I can get it kind of almost, see, I'm trying to get it to kind of almost like fold under itself a little bit. That looks pretty good. You even started to get a nice sort of fold there in the arm. Even if there's still a little bit of the arm, you know, showing through in spots, that's okay, because, you know, eventually what we would do is we'd be cutting the arm off down at this point. So there really wouldn't be actually any arm under there. So we'll do the same thing up on this one. Oops. Went too far with it. So this one let's see here. We had a lot of extra down here. You know, maybe this would have been a case where maybe I should have started with the attract brush, just so there was less there to deal with, but I think this is fine. And, you know, we can always, when we get back, we bring these parts back into Meshmixer, we can go back with the smoothing brush as well. Now, Blender does have a smooth brush. This doesn't behave the same, quite the same as the one in Meshmixer, and I'm used to that one, so that's why I'm kind of, you know, fine getting this, you know, to a point with this tool, and then, you know, finishing up the work in Meshmixer. And like I said, eventually I do want to start doing all of this in Blender, because I believe Blender is sort of the stronger tool, the better tool. This, yeah, like I said, I'm still getting used to it, but hopefully the more of us in the hobby playing in Blender, you know, we'll start. I mean, I stumbled across a lot of this, you know, on accident, and want to share, and hopefully, you know, this inspires the rest of you to play around, discover, and then share what you find too. All right, you get the idea. Okay, we got. And we probably would want to have a reference photo to look at too, so we can actually try to mimic some actual folds and where they would be. But I just want to kind of show you how the tool works. I mean, this can be used too for adjusting shoulder pads. You know, I can even pull out, make these pads a little bit larger by kind of pulling that way too. We're really trying to sort of sell that more vintage look. Not that, you know, receivers had huge pads, but but we could start to even use the tool to help expand those pads. Sort of the last thing we had to do, we noticed, and I use this grab tool a lot for this when I'm trying to get a torso lined up with a pair of pants that they didn't go together to begin with. And so this helps me sort of really get that fit that I'm looking for. So trying to kind of get underneath and then pull down. And sometimes the bigger the brush, the better. Sometimes you want to be real refined with a small brush. Sometimes you kind of want to pull from a larger area. It's all about what's going to look the most natural in the end. That's what's most important. So there you go. So you could use this. I'm using it just to sort of match up the torso to the pant. Okay, so we have a more natural fit there. See, that looks so much better. That was pretty fast too. But you could use this technique, to, sort of tuck in, if you want to tuck in the jersey into the pant, or conversely, if you're going with sort of like the untucked look, you could use that to, pull the jersey out and then down. Okay. If you're doing like a jersey pull, you could use this technique for that. Sort of, that's a real mess there, but something ridiculous like that. But like you could do, a jersey pull that way. Take your time with it. Do a better job than what I just showed there. But this is perfect for getting torsos to fit pants that didn't necessarily go together the first place. If I had to, even just for go back to object mode, even if I wanted to, just extend the pants just a little bit, okay, you could lengthen the pants by just a little bit. So now, ideally, I'd have the lower legs in here so I could see what I'm doing, but we're just gonna see what happens here. All right, so I'll pull those down a little bit, and then all right, we want to save those changes. So I'm going to grab the torso and export STL. And we'll just do the pant too, because I want to see, how that lengthening of the pant went there. All right, so we've got our before here. All right, so let's bring in the torso first. We should see those sleeves clean up. All right, and get rid of the original. Look at that. There we go. See, that looks... If I would have taken my time with it, we could have those looking really good, but you get the idea. Let's go ahead and see how that pant looked. Again, I should have done this with the leg imported as well, so I could see how far I was pulling it, make sure I'm pulling it in the right direction. But you can see you can easily use that brush, sort of extend the pant down as well. Oop. Oh, there we go. There. If I had the leg in there, that would have looked much better. But see, I could have extended that out a little bit further. But All right, but hopefully this helps you get a little bit of understanding of how you can use some of those brushes in Blender. Like I said, I use it for sleeve work, torso work. Even if I put in arms into an existing sleeve hole and the sleeve hole is too big or too small or the wrong shape, I can use it to make subtle tweaks to that opening to make the sleeve fit around the arm exactly the way I want it. You kind of use the same thing for this neck area too when you bring in heads. You know, you can use that to sort of manipulate that opening to make sure that your head is going to fit correctly in there. All right, enjoy.